We are only 1 minute away from the start of proceedings, but good evening, everybody, and welcome back to SSRL Division 2. It is, of course, round 9 in Monza. Of course, we had Division 1 last night. Of course, Andy Andre taking his 5th championship in SSRL in a row since Season 2. He has been the one to beat, and nobody has really done it. 2 have come close. But tonight, in Division 2, Quincy is the opportunistic guy to try and take his first ever Drivers' Championship in SSRL. Division 2 could be his tonight, but a couple of things need to go his way. Let's have a look at how things stand so far. We are currently looking at 2 rounds to go. So, of course, as we've already stated, Quincy could be champion going into next week, but it is going to be, of course, with a bit of a twist as well for next week. There's going to be some qualifying changes. But going into the drivers' standings, as you can see here, 24 points separate Pleasant Snake from Quincy. And if he is to outscore Pleasant Snake by 3 points or more this evening, Quincy is champion. But of course, anybody else wanting a taste, Race Chase maybe one to look out for. He has been steadily consistent over the last few races, especially the second half. The American driver really coming to life. He is looking for his first win this evening. Energetic and Truckster round out your top 5, and Truckster trying to get close to Energetic, maybe trying to catch P4, and if Race Chase has a bad night tonight, maybe he could go for P3. No Sebo, Tabran, Toby, Kavachka, and Eugene round out your top 10, followed by Skid Solo, Carcangino, ADS, Sitibo, and then Rendog rounding out your top 15. From 16th to 20th, it is Quan, Sergeant Devsy, Bruiser, Sveta, and Eamon. In your team standings, in new graphics, of course, McLaren and Mercedes are the ones to look out for in that one. Their battle probably more than likely going to go into the final round, unless if something dramatic happens to one or the other. Then in third, it is the Racing Bulls, really in a standing of their own. All they really need to do is just kind of get through these last 2 races and they'll be okay. Aston Martin and Red Bull round out your top 5, with from 6th to 10th is Williams, Ferrari, Alpine, Haas and Sauber, and a few places up for grabs there, especially the battle for 4th. And then, of course, looking at the battle all the way down there. In fact, from 4th to 8th there, only separated by 18 points there. Maybe if Haas have a surprise result tonight, they could find themselves in there. Let's see what happens as we are now loading in to Monza as we go into the evening's proceedings. We start with a single session, 18-minute qualifying, and then we have a half-distance Grand Prix. So, let's see what happens here tonight in the Temple of Speed. First opened in 1922. This current configuration has 11 turns at a length of 5.8 kilometers, which translates to about 3.6 miles, in case you need that. It was under the name Circuit de Milano, and it wasn't until 1928 where the circuit was named to its name that we know it as Monza. The track has seen many fatal accidents over its, 100 years of racing, claimed the lives of 52 drivers and 35 spectators. So safety has been a constant talk of, it's been a constant talking point when it has come to this circuit in the past, not so much anymore. And, of course, one of those, points of contention was actually the oval banking. If you watch the 1966 film Grand Prix, which I do try to mention every now and then, it is a, it was just so risky, and in actual fact, it's just a really great film in terms of understanding the speed that those cars are so basic compared to these cars of now. You just see the kind of speeds they were going at, and it was just very well made film. So highly recommend it if you do want a kind of idea and a taste of what Formula 1 was like back then. But on to current proceedings as they are right now. This modern layout that we currently have has been in use since the 2000s, with just some changes to the Variante della Loggia. And of course, the actual first Variante was actually a left, right, left, right, left. It was kind of like a small snake section, and then that led on to the Variante della Loggia. And then, of course, into the first and second last modes, which mostly remained unchanged. And in fact, there's a piece of the banking right there, which we are watching with Quincy right now. You can just see that little bit of tarmac there. That is part of the oval that they used to race on. through Ascari, though. Quincy completing his outlap and is the one in the hot seat tonight. Can he take his first ever SSRL championship tonight? Has to outscore the man in the Mercedes by 3 or more points. So Pleasant Snake won't be with us for the final race, but he sure as heck will try everything to make Quincy work for it. Don't forget his teammate as well, Race Chase. He will be looking for that as well. Quincy will now begin one of the important laps of his career in sim racing and doesn't get turn 1 right at all. The grip will improve as the session goes, but that is a scrappy turn 1 and a scrappy turn 2. Let's see how he is through turn 3. Some people call this Curva Grande, if I'm not mistaken, as we now approach the second variante here, breaking around the 100-meter board and then make the hit both apexes if possible. Not as dramatic as they are in real life, those sausage curbs. Now, first Lesmo to hit the exit curb there, goes close to the apex for 1, now for 2. You just want to ride that on this game and then hit that exit curb. DRS opening for the second time on this lap. We had the first one at the start, finish straight, and now you are approaching Ascari. Go under the bridge, go under the billboard, break at 100, but then go down to gear 5. You're carrying a lot of speed through there at about, well, 108 miles an hour. I think it's more akin to 120 miles per hour on this game. Now it's a straight just for Parabolica to go. The long right-hander. Brake as late as you dare. You need a lot of speed to come in. It's not a case of slow in, slow out, fast out. It's fast in and very fast out. DRS will open for the last time at the start-finish line. A 1:19.1, and that is very close to the times we saw in Division 1 last night. Next across the line is one of the kick Saubers. That is Sir Ibo. First Monza T1 of the day. No way it was going to go right. Yeah, that is very true indeed. As Red Dog and Sir Ibo come across the line now. Red Dog setting a 1:20.0 with Sir Ibo with a 1:24.596. So the time's going to come in thick and fast. Kavachka, who is also in a bit of a fight of his own, he's got to worry about 9th place. He has got Eugene behind him, who is, of course, with us just currently on his outlap, and Toby as well. Just looking at the driver list, I don't see Toby with us, so Kavachka could be on for a place here, but Tabran, who would be the next one after that, is here with us, and, of course, is trying to fight for the constructors for Mercedes, so he will have to just maybe be honest with himself and maybe say, I probably could go for 8th, but that's probably about it. And with Toby not attending, well, a good haul of points to come his way. But with Eugene here as well, you never know what's going to happen. Moksha and the Williams tonight for this one as well. Try to help them come to some sort of momentum. They currently stand in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th place. They're 1 point behind the Red Bull. And, of course, they'll try to take 4th place away from the Aston Martins. If the RBs are to have something happen tonight, the Racing Bulls, well, you never know. Maybe they could fight for 3rd. And in fact, any of those 5 constructors, well, 4 constructors behind them, could be on their tail if the RBs do not get a good result tonight. But Fellow Sun starting to lay down a good gauntlet there. Just under 0.3 of a second off the pole time of Quincy. But, of course, this is all temporary for now. The times will come down as the session draws to its close. So this is, of course, to do with track evolution. And that is where dirt is on the surface at the beginning of the session. And as you begin to drive over the tarmac, you begin to lay down rubber and clear off the dirt from the surface. So it becomes more grippy. So the time should come down, and Pleasant Snake there, straight to temporary pole, and to Bran. Mercedes have responded in kind after the few weeks where it looked a bit doubtful. To Bran and Pleasant Snake settle down for 1st and 3rd for now. This is some really good qualifying from the Mercedes team, but Bards comes in and says, he's got 2nd place in the Ferrari. Of course, not really. We've really been lagging behind, but Bards has really been a great driver for them. He's really found some form in the past couple of weeks. And we've been racing, of course. We've just come back after Quincy took time away to be in New York with his family. Hope he had a good time in the States. And now we see No Sebo to the line. He's straight to 6th place. Great time from the Red Bull driver. No Sebo is actually fighting for the very position in the championship he's currently qualified in. So interesting for him. But Trugster as well. He's trying to take 3rd place away from Race Chase. Now, Race Chase hasn't set a lap just yet. He's on his outlap, just like the Williams we are watching on screen right now. The David is hyped for this quali. I am. I really am. I've I've missed commentating this league. What can I say? I just have. But Truckster right now, let's just go through some of his results over the season. Now, bear in mind, there was one he did not attend. That was, of course, round 2 a few weeks ago. But he started the first 3 races, right? 2 podiums from 3 races, and that round 2 he did not attend. Can't remember the reason as to why, but nothing major, of course, because he's attended the rest of them, rest of these races, no problem. So round 1, 3rd place. Round 2, you already know. Round 3 was a 2nd place, but since then, he's actually not even touched the top 5. He actually sunk to an all-time low in round 8 a couple of weeks ago. Not even finishing. Currently lying on 71 points, though, so he's not doing bad. But some of his old habits have come back in. Like, you know, we used to call him the 3-second penalty guy. And now some of those habits have come back in. He got one last night in Division 1, which, of course, he reserved in the Haas with Danger David in tow. But no sign... Well, no Danger David tonight, of course. He does not race full-time in Division 2, and he is only in reserve just because he needs to focus on himself outside of SSRL. We do hope he is doing well. Drugster goes through Lesmo 2, about to open DRS number 2. And there we go, down the straight now, under the old bridge, which holds the oval, which they used to race upon long ago. Through Ascari, the Williams goes, and now he is just on the straight, separating from the previous corner to Parabolica. Trugster needing a good time to bring the pressure to Race Chase. We will cut to him in just a few moments' time. He's currently on a flyer as well, as is Rowley, and I think as is Rendog also in the Ferrari, and as is Bards as well. So a lot of people still on flyers, and this is Trugster up to 6th place, and Pips, no Sebo, for that position. Bards is just coming into the pit lane, so we will now go to Race Chase. Let's go on board with him as he goes through Ascari. We watched his teammate knock this out on his opening flyer, and well, Quincy's time has been beat, and Pleasant Sake making a statement in this early part of qualifying. He has beaten the time from Quincy by over 0.3 of a second, and now Quincy is looking to respond as he starts a flying lap. The other McLaren, though, is finishing his with just under 9 minutes to go. We are getting ready to see the business end of qualifying, and we are just under halfway as Race Chase to 7th place. I don't think he'll be too happy with that, and the Mercedes now are in a very comfortable position in terms of their constructors. And coming across the line as well was Rowley, who, of course, was the other driver not to set a time, but that was only good for 12th. That's a 1:19.782. Skid Solo, the only driver we are waiting for a lap from, and I think we're also waiting for a representative from Sir Ibo. He's down in the 123s along with Big Bruiser. Now that could just, I mean, not to be rude as he gets that wrong, too much grass on the left hand side there, sees him go spinning through the first Variante, and that is not going to really help the confidence. Sir Ibo has found himself more often than not at the back of the field along with his Kicksauber teammate Skid Solo. Let's go and see what his teammate can do. Of course, you will see the sight that his teammate has left as he comes down into turn 1 now. Let's go on board with the Skid, with the Kicksauber driver even. Going into turn 1 now, about 150 miles per hour, 150 yards. No, it's yards, isn't it? It's meters. You love to see it. Thank you, Anno. 150 yards into turn 1. Gets through that, then through turn 2. Not as messy as Quincy on this time around, but he is looking a bit varied on his line, so I do wonder if Skid is on controller, because you can see him just weaving left and right as he approaches the second Variante. So I'm just wondering if he's, like, having a bit of anxiety on the controller. He's just not quite got the inputs as smooth when you look on board with another driver, so that is certainly something to watch out for. It's not really something you would notice with these onboard cameras, and in fact, you can really actually see it there. The camera angle capturing what I am describing perfectly. DRS opening again for the 2nd time on this lap as we approach Ascari. And you can just see there, he's just not quite confident with his lines there. You're just seeing him weave left and right. It compromises your entry. It gives you a shallower entry. Not exactly what you want. You want as wide of an entry as possible so that you can just take the maximum momentum through the corner. And that's what all these drivers are doing. By the way, just a bit of an update. Further up the field, Quincy did improve, but I could only find a 1:18.9, and Pleasant Lake has just started his flying lap as well. Skid Solo to the line, beats his teammate by over a second, and that is 16th and 17th for both Kicksaubers, but both those cars way off the pace and not replicating the not replicating the pace we saw from Andy Andre last night, who, of course, like I said earlier on in the broadcast, took his 5th SSRL championship in a row. And, of course, just a bit of lore for you. Herman the German is, of course, the only one who actually got close to him and is the only other driver to take a title in SSRL. And, well, one of these drivers in Division 2 will be joining that very exclusive club with Herman either tonight or next week. But, of course, it depends wholeheartedly as Race Chase is up to 4th as well. But then Fellow Son, out of nowhere, pole position with a 1:18.598. What does Snake have in response? I think he went wide through Ascari, though. It looked like he just took too much curb when he approached that right-hander right after that sharp left-hander. So I think he's abandoned the lap, judging by the weaving he was doing down that small straight. And let's have a look at his teammate Tabran. So here we go through. I think they call this Curva Grande, but of course I will double check that once we take a break. And sector 1 is nearly a second down, so I think he's actually just come off a flying lap there. In fact, yeah, that's a 1:18.931. That pips Quincy down to 5th position here. So Quincy actually in quite a bit of trouble. His teammate's also out on a flyer. Rowley has improved up to 8th, and Truxter, I think, he's out on another lap as we speak. In fact, yeah, that's the Williams going through the first Variante. So there we go. We've got a couple of drivers. Let's just see what the Williams can do through Sector 1, and then we'll cut back to the McLaren, currently 6th place, and is actually just approaching Parabolica now. We'll cut back to the Williams when we can. That is 200ths up. So what about Race Chase? Let's see what he's up to, and has he abandoned the lap? Because that looked to be over 3 seconds down. And he has. I think he actually came off a flyer there. That was a 1:19.117. So, yeah, no, with Quincy and Race Chase alongside one another, I think that means there was an improvement. As Fellow Son retires from the session, he doesn't feel he needs to improve, but there's still a few minutes of qualifying to go. So that might have been too early of a pullout from Fellow Son. But, of course, we'll see if it pays him dividends in a few minutes. Big turn. It is indeed a big turn. Depending on which one you're describing, though, I know. Here we go. Through Parabolica, we go. Truxter there, locking up the brakes. I'm surprised to see that. It's not often you see that from the F1 cars, as now Truxter separates the two McLarens. He goes up into 6th place, and that is bad news bears if you are a Papaya fan. That is not what you want to see at all. We're now cutting to Sir Ibo, and I think Kovačka is also on a flying lap. In fact, yeah, Kovačka's just going through Parabolica now. Sir Ibo nearly 600ths down. Let's have a look as Kovačka head time is invalidated. So he'll come straight to the pits with 3 minutes to go. Should have seen the Papaya yesterday. I know, right? I know, right? The Papaya actually taking the win. Of course, Bavish with his first win in SSRL last night. Hello to you in the chat. It is great to see you, Bavish, here. And I hope you're still enjoying, celebrating in your win from yesterday. It was an absolutely fantastic win. Well done, Bavish, as we are now cut back to Sir Ibo, 3/10 down, but also an invalidated time. So let's cut to Eugene, who is fighting with Kovačka there. But at the moment, Kovačka is in the pits, of course, after invalidating a flyer there. And I think who actually came up the order there? I think that was No Sebo up into 11th place there in the 1:19.3. But not a lot to separate the drivers as we are now going into the closing stages of qualifying. Just over 2 minutes to go for these guys to set one final flying lap here. We've got No Sebo there. Oh, one of the Red Bulls anyway. Big Bruiser just coming on to a flyer himself. And I think Energetic is... Oh, having a really bad day of it as he's on the exit of Lesmo too. He's in the gravel. We just caught that in the nick of time. But looks like Energetic making a mistake there. And he was actually up by a few hundredths there. But he's going to have to abandon the lap, recharge the battery. I think with how little of the lap is left, I think that might be the end of qualifying for the Racing Bulls driver. He'll have to settle for 8th place, but with the pressure of drivers behind looking to improve, Big Bruiser and Surebo are on their final flying laps, and so at the moment, Surebo has just gone through the second Lesmo, a pack of cars behind him. Energetic does indeed lose out on his personal best. Now remember, as we set our final flying laps, the delta in the top right hand side only compares to your session best. not only compares to your personal best, not the overall session best. So do remember that. So Brad is going to start his final flying lap, but let's go to Big Bruiser, who will be one of the last across the line. He has improved by nearly a second through Sector 2, so this could be very good to at least get him in the middle of those kick Sauber's. Skid Solo has remained in the pits. He doesn't feel he can improve any further in this session. As it looked like Bruiser had a look up there mid-corner. He does indeed separate the kick Sabbers, but I do believe Sir Ibo is also just starting his final flying lap. And I wonder if he invalidated again. He is on 2-lap-old soft tyres, and that's where his best lap has come from as well. Yellow flags all over the place for slow-moving vehicles. Currently one in Sector 3. 30 seconds to go in the session, but we're about to really wrap things up. So let's just see who is where on the track. It will be, I think, Red Dog to close out the session. Yes, with 15 seconds to go, he won't get time for another flyer. Red Dog here for the Ferrari could really do the Tifosi crowd a favour. He is at their home race, and he is going to peel it into the pit lane. No improvement from him. So what about Tabran? No improvement from him either. So who is next? Sir Ibo, I think, is causing a bit of traffic. He indeed is. Is that Quincy or Race Chase? That is Race Chase. That's potentially been held up. 2.5 tenths he improved in Sector 2. But for the American driver, coming across the line now, can he find anything magical in Sector 3? Or was that done and dusted? The second place for the McLaren, but how will that hold us? Barnes takes it away the very next moment. What about Pleasant Stake? 4,000ths even up in Sector 2. What about Sector 1? Kovachka is also on a lap. Big Bruiser is actually on a lap as well, but he's going into the pit lane after being on a flyer. Kovachka, though, what's he up to? Invalidated. He will not improve. Tarkin Gino will not improve either. Energetic is still out on track, but Pleasant Stake with the most important lap of his entire qualifying. No improvement. It is 2,000ths away from his personal best, so he remains fourth. Fellow son, congratulations. You take pole position at the Temple of Speed. But no, Energetic has just come in and set the second best time, pipping Bards, pipping Race Chase, and Quincy in order to take his championship tonight. Not in a good position to do so. He starts 9th place on the grid. Well, it's some big chilling. The overconfidence pays off for Fellow Son. It really does. Good times from top 6 overconfident Fellow Son. I ate some pasta after the race, says Bavish. I finally got a chance to look at that. The chaos of qualifying concluding. So let me just take a screenshot of these just in case if I need it later. But your official qualifying results from 1st to 10th is Fellow Son, Energetic, Bards, Race Chase, and Pleasant Stake, with Tabran, Rowley, Moksha, Quincy, and Truckster rounding out your top 10. Then from 11th to the bottom of the field, it is Tarkin Gino, No Sebo, Kovachka, Rendog, Eugene, Skid Solo, Big Bruiser, and Sir Ibo. And just in case if I need that later, I will take a screenshot. But anyway, guys, that is all for qualifying. Next up, we have a a half-distance Grand Prix for the proceedings tonight. It's hard to lock in real teams and liveries. Sorry, you know, my least favourite thing about F1 leagues is that it's hard locked to real-world teams and liveries. I mean, yes and no. I mean, I kind of like it for the sake of consistency. To be honest with you. And then I don't know, it's easier for me, to be honest with you. Listen, we are going to be underway at 56, so set your timers for about 3 minutes from now, and then we'll be right back with you. Chat, don't go anywhere. Quincy may be taking his title tonight, but it looks like Pleasant Snake and Race Chase have brought the goods. Come back in about 3 minutes' time. And with only a minute, well, a few moments to go until proceedings get underway, we'll have a formation lap and then the race. Welcome back, and it is a very important evening in the proceedings of SSRL. We have the championship for the drivers on the line tonight. Just to remind you, Quincy needs to outscore Pleasant Stake by 3 or more points to become champion, but then also needs to worry about where his teammate will be. But let's go through how things are ordered right now. So it is fellow Son, not really fighting for anything here. He has got absolutely no real stakes here, but he's on pole position with Energetic getting 6, so a Racing Bulls 1-2. Of course, I had to knock my brain into gear there for a second. Then Bards in the Tifosi in third place. The Ferrari team there lining up super well. Race Chase in fourth ahead of his teammate, and that's important if he wants a Drivers' Championship battle going into the final round. Pleasant Snake and Tabran rounding out 5th and 6th. They're needing to be ahead of the McLaren. Remember, Mercedes going into this round 20 points behind the British team. Rowley lines up in 7th place. He's currently not really in any fight for the top 10. Moksha lines up 8th position. Quincy, of course, the guy in the hot seat, but starting in 9th. That's not really where he would have wanted to be. Trugster, currently in 5th, trying to make his way up into the top 3, is the 10th. So a bit of work for the Williams driver to do. Targangino 11th. No Sebo in 12th place. Kovachka 13th, 14th, Rendog, Eugene 15th, and then Skid Solo, Bruiser, and Sir Ibo rounding out the 18 drivers taking part. Fellow Son leads the 17 drivers behind him into the final corner, Parabolica, which is where, of course, we have seen plenty of action. This track, remember, has seen over 100 years of racing, and each year very, very enjoyable one way or another. Fellow Son will line up on P1 now. Pleasant Stake, for some odd reason, got put to the grid in the formation lap. We didn't see what that was, but that just means his tyres will be stone cold. For the mediums, that's not going to be as big of an issue if you were on the hards, but it does mean you'll need a bit of extra time to get those tyres warmed up. So Pleasant Stake there might be a bit vulnerable off the line. Last thing he would have wanted, but Quincy, this will be the most important start. But for the Racing Bulls, they are not fighting for anything. They are just looking to get a comfortable gap between the Aston Martin and the pack behind. So they are looking to make 3rd place theirs by the end of the evening. Remember, a maximum for the constructors is 47 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. It's going Monza. The Racing Bulls team are off to a good start there, but a fellow Son covers off. A Red Bull in the background has spun onto the grass. Everybody trying to go side by side with one another. Quincy has just caught up. What a start for the McLaren driver. Already up to 7th, fighting with Tabran in the background for 6th place, but doesn't win out in the end. Has to ride the Sausage Cup, and Trugster as well off the line. Well, that is a good start for those two, up to 7th and 8th respectively. But at the moment, fellow Son leads away into through the first couple of turns, now into the second barrier. As now Race Chase is trying to hold on to 4th, but no dice there as Quincy and Tabran have gone side by side. Might have been a bit of contact between them. I don't think there was anything too dramatic though, but Quincy gets that move done into the first Lesmo, and he's now looking at his teammate there, and that will be at least some reassurance for the British driver as they are now through the halfway point of the first lap. 27 laps here. Of course, that marks a half-distance Grand Prix at the Italian circuit. And there was also a swap in the background between Kovachka and Moksha even, beg your pardon. And, well, Moksha down 4 positions. Eugene up 4 as there's a piece of carbon fiber that goes flying there on the exit of Ascari. There's, of course, an Alpine side by side. And that is with the Red Bull of No Sebo. Of course, I'm trying to identify whose red plate that was, or at least a piece of carbon fiber. Certainly something there, but anyway, things calm down as we complete lap 1, and that might have been the Williams of Moksha there, who is into the pits almost instantly there. So let's have a look, see what's going on. What do the Williams team decide to do? And, well, he was on the medium tyre as well, has got no choice but to go long. Hard tyres will not go long into the rest of the race here because ultimately. And, it's not replaced his front wing either, and I think that's the sole reason he stopped. So that is bad news for the Williams driver. Of course, Williams going into this, trying to battle with Aston Martin, but that's not going to help. Truckster now carrying the flag for the Williams team. Not as much chaos as there was expected to see, as we have Simulation Gaming in the chat here. Welcome to along. Hope you enjoyed the broadcast. Terrible just getting started on the straight right into the grass. Noobs indeed. Goodness me. Chat really being brutal tonight. Meow. I don't have enough. It's Daryl. Oh! Hi, Daryl. Hi, Daryl. I didn't know that was you, of course. You, hello there. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a good day. But anyway, we are now going to probably see a swap for the lead, because the Racing Bulls have checked out from the Ferrari behind, as Energetic gets the fastest lap of the race. DRS open, as it has been activated since lap 2, but of course that's Energetic through to the lead. But there's another battle happening as well. Race Chase and Quincy trying to make sure they don't swap. Pleasant Snake up into 3rd place there as well, as now Snake will have the momentum going through on the exit, so he's hoping to catch up to this battle, as now Fellowson goes right back to the lead after losing it through turn 1. Tarkangino and Truckster have swapped places, or is that just rolling? I wonder if Truckster's had a bit of a mistake there. Let's just have a quick look. His car looks like it's all intact, but has gone down a couple of positions there. So Truckster really struggling in this early part of the race, and he's on those hard tyres, so they won't be the tyre to be on at this early point of the Grand Prix. But Quincy there hasn't probably made as much progress, but he can see the leaders right in front of them. He can see his championship rivals right in front of him as well, up 3 positions from his qualifying point. Does Race Chase allow Quincy through? No, he does not. He will not give way to the championship leader. Of course, Race Chase does have championship stakes as well, so of course he's not desperate to give Quincy any sort of edge. Of course, both of them went on the medium tyre, so they will pit at around the same time. But who is going to have first call? You would think that would be Quincy, but of course, no race engineer for these guys racing. They are just going to be relying on their own instincts, unless if there is some instant communication. But now Energetic will have DRS again on his teammate Fellowson. The Racing Bulls have not been able to check out, as there's a bit of side-by-side action in the background there, as no real swaps as of right now. But Barnes and Pleasant Snake side-by-side with one another on the exit of the first variante. I think there was a bit of racing there going on, as the 2 Aston Martins are also racing each other there. But no dice for an overtake for either one. But Eugene is also having a good start so far. 4 laps, 4 positions. He's up to 11th place, and just looking at his teammate, but no team orders at play in this early part of the Grand Prix. But yeah, no, I'd go super long, says Daryl, on the mediums and pray for a safety car. I think that's what some teams did, well, tried to do last night, but no safety car was called in Division 1 last night. So maybe Division 2 maybe sparks that bit of chaos that the race may also need for some neutrals. But of course, the drivers here are just hoping for a natural play out in the race, and it is all about a game of chess now in terms of strategy, as Truckster has made a move. Oh, wait a minute, and we've had a moment. Rowley has gone off there through Ascari and has lost his front wing end plate for good measure. But we need to now look at the battle for the lead. No safety car intervention required, but wait. There, Red Dog and Moksha have collided. No, Red Dog and no Sebo have collided with one another going through Ascari. What happened there? So there's a partial front wing gone, as there's been a swap for the lead as well. While looking at that, we'll come back, we'll kind of look back at that when we have a bit of time, because now we're going to see a few swaps maybe for position to Bran and Truckster have checked out from one another. Truckster 3.8 seconds behind this battle. We are looking at Quincy taking advantage on those medium tyres, as Truckster went on those hards, but he's hoping that towards the end of the stint those hards come good and he can try catching up. He's already knocked out 3/10 going through the second variante, so let's see what he can do throughout the rest of this stint. And it does look like he is catching them up, so Tarkangino could maybe learn a few lessons here. Who knows? As currently the 2 drivers into the pits due to damage to their cars are No Sebo and Rendog. I just wonder what happened to those 2, as now Moksha will come out ahead, proving that the undercut does have some sort of effect around this long, well, I say this long Monza circuit, but it's a high-speed Monza circuit in all reality. But yeah, no, Moksha ahead of those two now and 42 seconds behind the pack. So trying to catch Sir Ibo, who of course just got a 3-second penalty for track limit violations. We see yet another swap for the lead, but we also see aggressive defense from the Ferrari driver of Bards there, not giving the Mercedes any room to go through. Of course, they were in their own little fight, are the McLarens and the Mercedes, and the Mercedes, well, have got two beef fillings of McLaren in their sandwich, and well, they're going to make it a Ferrari filling as well. If Pleasant Sink can get this move done for third, he does, but they're going to go side by side. Mercedes flung into the air mid-corner, and I think oh goodness me, Quincy is pushed off by Bards there, and no front wing end plate for the Ferrari driver. Where did he lose that, I wonder? As we haven't actually seen what happened there. Unfortunately, we don't get replays, so we won't be able to see that. But now Quincy is going to have another go at the Ferrari, but I think the Mercedes will cover off the McLaren. And in fact, yes, that's exactly what happened to Bards, leaving Quincy very little room. That was essentially a squeeze there. And now that might allow Traban to get involved in all this. And while all this is happening as well, Truckster is getting closer. He's got under 2 seconds to this gap. And while all this fighting is happening, guess what? The RBs have checked out fully. They are working together to try and extend this gap, and in some ways, they don't really need to. They're kind of, the guys behind are just doing it to themselves, as though Energetic takes the lead of the Grand Prix. I don't think there'll be much of a position swap this time around, as Race Chase looks to the inside of his teammate, but no dice there so far. So we are kind of looking at the pit stop strategy. Now, the earliest pit stop that was without damage for either one of the cars was about lap 8, and that was last night in Division 1. So I'm expecting something similar for the medium tyres. If you are going on the one stop, as Suribo is now in the pit lane and gets a 10-second penalty for speeding in said pit lane. As there we go, Bards with another mistake through the second variante. Can Quincy take advantage of this? Not enough track to do it. Going into the first Lesmo. Kovachka in the background also making a move. That is for 9th place there. So not bad stuff from the Alpine. He is ahead of who he needs to be ahead of, which is Eugene there, as fellow son and Energetic swap places in the next DRS zone. And that gap still at around the 2-second mark. So not much of a gain, not much of a decrease either. In terms of gaps there. Pleasant Stake really putting on the pace here to keep the Racing Bulls in touching distance. But these 4 have become these 5 as Energetic yet again does swap with fellow son. Wonder if there was a slight mistake mid-corner from the second RB, but now Energetic properly defending, as now Pleasant Stake has got that gap to around 2 seconds, but now we need to cut away because we're seeing Bards and Quincy go side by side with one another into the first variante. Can the Ferrari driver hold on? There's a bit of contact between the two and a bit of afters through the second part of the corner, and Quincy does get the move done. What about his teammate Race Chase? He does not want to brand behind for much longer. Does Race Chase have the momentum? He's going around the outside of Curva Grande. Of course, it won't be helped by the fact that there's a missing end plate on that Ferrari, and he can't get the move done. Has to settle back down going into the corner, and that might just be enough to bring Tabran in again. But then Tabran has been overtaken. It looks like he's made a mistake through the second variante because he's now side by side on Tabran with a bit of a spin there as Kovachka goes through and does Tarkangino in the other Aston Martin, and Tabran from 6th all the way down to 10th in a matter of moments in one lap. Heartbreak for the Mercedes, and Tabran with work to do, but his pit stop might be coming up. You can see the back end of the car squiggling, well, kind of tank slapping as he goes through the left-hander of Ascari. So I'm just wondering if there is something wrong with that car we just cannot see, or it might be a mishap with the setup. Now, the 2 drivers which are contending for the championship are now line astern with one another. Quincy has DRS. You see a swap for the lead in the front of your frame. Race Chase now goes up into 5th place with DRS there. But surely, if Bards can find a way to get back through us, there we go. Tabran does indeed come into the pit lane, so he'll be undercutting the drivers in front of him. This is the battle he's going to be focusing on, so keep an eye on Tabran. Let's see his gaps, and he is onto the hard tyre. He should be comfortable to go to the end. The one stop is the better strategy if you can make it work round here in Monza. We did see it happen without a safety car last night, so can any of the drivers replicate that? Quincy, of course, will be in the best position for that, as will Chugster. He knows what it will take to get to the end on this, as Eugene is now the next driver to get a 3-second penalty, the third one of the evening. But at the moment, let's just see. The points difference here is exactly 3 points. It is what Quincy needs to solidify the championship tonight, if he can get that done. Now, just to let you know, some of the previous results from between Quincy and Snake, well, it was second place for Quincy in round 1, with the win in round 1 for Snake, and then in round 2, the win for Quincy, and then second place for Snake, and then Quincy did not actually finish round 3, so the honours went to Snake there, who took third place. And of course, if you remember, that's when Herman the German had a brief stint in Division 2 and got himself promoted after taking wins in rounds 3 and 4. And now we are looking at Quincy. Let's see if he's close enough to make a move into the first variante. That's certainly very close. He is alongside the Mercedes, lock up on both front tyres. And that is not going to be enough to get the move done. So probably a couple of percent taken off the tyre wear there. Well, added onto the tyre wear for Quincy there. That's not really what he would have wanted. But for Pleasant's sake, he is looking very cool and collected considering the pressure that he is under. Of course, remember, he is not going to be here for the final round as he has announced. So he really is doing it just to put Quincy under some sort of pressure. And Race Chase, well, he's in a bit of a situation himself. He could try and take some points. So he is 32 points behind going into tonight. So he needs to outscore Quincy by 6 or more points in order to take the championship into next week for his own sake. But how likely that will be, we'll wait and see. But now Quincy down the inside through Ascari. They're going to go side by side. But of course, Pleasant Sake needs to give him the room. He does. And that is Quincy up into second place for the time being. A few tenths there lost to the car in front, but no surprise. But Pleasant Sake got a better exit from Ascari. He's going to look down the outside of Parabolica, but not close enough to do so. So that will mean he has to settle down for the time being. By the way, Red Dog at the back of the field there has just got up to 16. But look at this. Who is into the pits first? It's Quincy, who has got the preferential team run as Barnes gets a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Not only does he have to replace his front wing, he also now, if he does make another pit stop, serve a 10-second penalty. Who's out the pits first? It is Quincy, out behind Pleasant Sake, but only by the merest of gaps there. There is nothing between them as Energetic goes through on both of them. He's already through to the first turn, but now these two are going to fight on the pit exit. Let's see what happens. And McLaren and Mercedes into turn 1. It's Linus turn and very clean indeed. It is going to be Snake ahead for the time being, but he will be vulnerable to Quincy behind once we go into the DRS zone at, well, after the second Lesmo on the exit. Remember, before the turn-in on the second Lesmo is the DRS detection point. So here we go. Now, let's see what can be done. Can Quincy make a move into Lesmo 1? No, not close enough to do so, but he'll be waiting to use DRS into the second Lesmo. On the exit now, these two will approach, and it looks like Snake has just got the better pace there on terms of exit corner, but now Quincy's DRS will open up, and he is going to try and get close to the Mercedes driver in front, but no deal there for the McLaren driver. And actually, that looked like it was track limit warnings there, so that could be very close. And now Race Chase, his teammate, into the pits, will probably lose out. You'll get caught easy going long on those mediums. Not the best tire. You want to get rid of them on lap 10, says Bavish. So there we go. Sorry again, I saw that late, but there's a Red Bull in the barrier. That is Big Bruiser and Ascari. No safety car required, which will be thankful for the drivers. And Race Chase, I think, is going to come out behind his teammate. And, of course, Pleasant Sake, and indeed he does. But now Pleasant Sake under pressure from Quincy. And I think Quincy is holding off here because look at Bran, who was the earliest to pit of the 3 drivers in front, but has come out behind all of them. Bran losing pace on those hards. He will not be happy with how that's all unfolded. And worse still, we still have a couple of pit stops to come as Kovachka now with a 3-second penalty for track limit violations. He's currently second because he has not served a pit stop as of right now. And Trugster as well, he's also in the lead, but only temporarily. That is because, again, not serving, well, hasn't served his mandatory pit stop just yet. We are now watching Tabran go through Lesmo 2 and Race Chase trying to catch up to the two in front, which are of Pleasant Snake and Quincy. These two fight for a championship. Well, these three fighting for a championship. Remember, what Race Chase needs to do is outscore Quincy by 6 points. Honestly, as things stand right now, Pleasant Snake will take the championship into next week, but he is not going to be here with us. As now, we go through Parabolica. And Quincy has to keep behind Pleasant Snake for the time being. DRS opening for the McLaren. Can he maybe find a way through turn 1? But Race Chase has pressure from the Mercedes of Tabran behind him. Yeah, nothing changing there as of right now, but Quincy getting so close. And if he does overtake here for 5th place, well, it's only a 2-point difference between him and Snake at this current moment, so he would not outscore. He would not be enough to give him the championship this evening. But, of course, remember, pit stops still to come from Truckster and Kovachka at some point in this race. Both those drivers on the hard tyres, so they will go on to the mediums for the rest of the race. And I'm just wondering if Truckster can make this work. I don't think he's going to be close enough for a podium, but then again, you never know. Positional swap there for... that was No Sebo and Sir Ibo. That is Sebo up into 16th place there. And Rendog, we are now observing, is trying to get past Moksha. We'll cut back in a few moments' time to the battle for the championship. But at the moment, I just want to see what is going on around the track, because that is only fair to the other drivers that do race in this league. And the Racing Bulls, of course, are currently fighting for what will be the lead of the race once Kovachka and Truckster make their eventual pit stops, and they're going to go as long as possible on those hard tyres. I see gaps, therefore I must also see cars. Absolutely. Indeed. Anno really making it, but really giving us basic F1 knowledge here. And we'll see what happens. So here we go. We are trying to see Rendog make a move, and there's been actually a move for 10th place there. Tarkagino has overtaken his teammate Eugene, who, of course, has a 3-second penalty to Eugene's name. So there we go. And in actual fact, Moksha serving another pit stop. So robbed of a battle there. But Tarkagino now trying to catch up to the back of Bards, who is having a miserable Grand Prix as of right now. A 13-second post-race penalty and a front wing and a damaged front wing for good measure as well. Not been probably the evening that he would have wanted, but if a safety car comes in, that will throw a lot of doubt up, as now Tabran gets a 3-second penalty for track limit violations. So Race Chase has a bit of pressure come off his shoulders. But at the moment now, we are still focusing on the two in the championship, trying to see if they can settle, well, one trying to settle the proceedings this evening, one trying to get things into next week. At the moment, Pleasant Snake is the latter, Quincy is the former. We go into the next DRS zone. We are going to go on board with the Mercedes. We're going to watch as that McLaren should now start catching up. DRS open. Kovachka into the pit lane as well. He will go on to the medium tyres, and that will be the tyre that he will go to the end on for obvious reasons. A one-stop strategy he is hoping to execute. Look at the traction Quincy has out the corner there. Pleasant Snake is... well, listen, this is a great drive from Pleasant Snake as of right now. He is keeping cool under pressure, and it's no surprise there. But if there were cars in the gaps, there would be no gaps. Exactly. But anyway, yeah, Pleasant Snake also having a really good drive. He's doing a good job of defending from Quincy here. He's not buckling under this pressure. He's not making any silly mistakes at all. This is a good drive from the Mercedes so far. We're on lap 15 out of 27. I don't think he's going to be able to hold it throughout the rest of this Grand Prix with 13 laps to go. 13 opportunities for Quincy. Well, if you're being technical about it, 2 opportunities under DRS. So let's see, 13 times 2 is 26. So you have about 26 opportunities. Not many in the grand scheme of things, but does sound like a lot when you initially sound it. But anyway, here we go. We are now going to approach the first DRS zone on to the next lap. We'll start lap 16 out of 27 with Quincy just over half a second there, as now Truckster into the pit lane for his one and only stop. He will go on to the medium tyres for his last stint, unless if a safety car is to happen at this late stage, which of course is a very real fear for the drivers currently out on track who have waited a very long time to make their pit stops. And if Truckster now Chuckster now would be one of the ones that would be severely screwed by a safety car if that was to come out right now. He would be in all sorts of trouble going into the final moments of the race. And, yeah, no, another one. I think, let's see, I don't know, is Kvačka having a battle with the Aston Martins? He indeed is. He's trying to get past Eugene, but had a brief try as, oh, goodness me, that is Tarcangino skipping the second part of the second variante. And he cuts the corner, but doesn't gain any advantage out of it. So I don't know if the game would have given him a track limits warning. But usually, those result in a 5-second penalty that you can usually serve. But Quincy there with a 3-second penalty. And now, well, it's all to do as there's a Kick Sauber parked up at turn 1. And that's Sir Ibo there. He's got back underway, so no need for any intervention from race control there. But now Quincy needs, well, has added on a bit of a challenge there to his championship there. As there we go, Kvačka to the grass, round the outside of Eugene there. That was dramatic stuff there from the Alpine driver. The Alpine on fine form tonight. And let's see what he can do. DRS opening for both the Aston and the Alpine. Let's go into turn 1 with this car, as there we go, that is Eugene trying to find a way through. That is his championship rival for what is at 9th place there, so don't forget he needs to outscore us. Chuckster now finds a way through. Eugene there made a bit of a mistake through the first variante and gets the move done. So there we go, Chuckster will have momentum on his side, and now he can see the guy who also copied the strategy. Well, he copied the strategy from all things considered. Kvačka was the first into the pit lane. Red Dog is making another pit stop there. He's making his second stop, so some drivers haven't quite calculated things correctly as Bards gets another 3-second penalty for track limit violations. His post-race total is up to 16 seconds. Of course, he can have the 10 seconds knocked off in a pit lane, in a pit stop, but I don't know if he's going to need to make a second stop. Red Dog all the way down to last position there, so it's been a bit of a miserable time for him. At the moment now, slipstream for the Alpine driver. And no move into the Parabolica there. So at the moment now, we are going to see probably Chuckster make a move on the Alpine as we are now through to the first DRS zone of lap 18 out of 27. DRS opening for the Williams. And, yeah, Alpine there around the outside of the Aston Martin, though. So Kvačka with excellent straight line speed gets the move done. But we need to see what else is happening around the track, because Race Chase has just made a move a couple of laps ago. No, he's not made a move onto Brown. In fact, if anything, that gap has increased. And now Quincy also not catching up to Pleasant Snake anymore. So the championship fight for Quincy seems to have just died off a little bit. He's probably accepting that this needs to go into next week, and that's what's going to happen. But Trugs around the outside of Lesmo 1 gets the move done on Tarcangino, so he's passed both Aston Martins. But then Kvačka in front of him has just got another 3-second penalty. So now this plants him behind Eugene as Bards gets another 3-second penalty there. So it is very interesting. Now, Trugster is now catching up to Kvačka. He should get a move done going into the DRS zone, to be honest with you. We'll be on lap 20 out of 27, and the RBs are still swapping DRS with one another. So this could mean that we will see the battle for the lead between them, and of course we will cut to that. But now lap 19 out of 27, beg your pardon, because the RBs had already crossed the line. I thought we were going to observe these two begin lap 20, but evidently not. And with 9 laps to go at the moment, lots to still play for at the moment, especially for Trugster. If he can make his way past Kvačka, he can try and get the move done, potentially. Oh, to try and catch up to maybe to Brown and Bards. Let's just check their penalty totals. Well, he'll be ahead of Bards regardless because of his amount. And now we are going to see if... Oh, goodness me, Trugster with a great run there into the second DRS zone. Goes the Williams driver. Remember, he's trying to catch up to Energetic, but Energetic is looking like he's going to have a really good finish. So this means that the next driver he needs to be ahead is No Sebo, and No Sebo not having a good wee evening as of right now, so he doesn't even need to worry about him. So Tabran is the one he'll need to worry about if he wants to just keep a hold of his 5th place there. Fellow Sun and Energetic swap again. They've started lap 20 out of 27 now. And can Truckster finally find a way through? DRS will open for the Williams driver as Tabran in for a second stop. Oh no, Tabran has just got in for his second stop, and I think that might mean Truckster is safe, and we were just talking about him as well. Tabran, and well, I've cursed him a little bit, and now yellow flag in Sector 2. That will be short-lived. I'm not sure what that was for, in all honesty, but it doesn't matter. No intervention required from race control at all. At the moment, though, we are still observing because Quincy is just, well, Pleasant Stake has checked out from Quincy there, and now Quincy is being brought into Race Chase's time. Now, if that goes below 3 seconds, that means Race Chase will be at post-race ahead of Quincy. So that might cause a few complications, although it wouldn't be enough. Let's see, so it's P4 to P5. That is only a 2-point separation. It's not the 6 points that Race Chase requires. But Race Chase has really shown a great second half of the season and potentially could be up for Division 2 title when we go into next season. Lap 21 out of 27 has been begun by the leaders. Fellow Sun and Energetic are swapping with one another, but we are looking at Truckster at the moment trying to get past the Alpine of Kovachka. He is trying to gain time, but it doesn't really matter anymore. He can now get the maximum of 6th place, so maybe he doesn't really need to fight, and I don't blame him for not doing so. Truckster now approaching turn 1, no change there. The Racing Bulls have been a class above the rest, but we have a, well, as soon as I say that, we have a yellow flag. It's Big Bruiser who's had a moment into turn 1. He is now down to 18th position, and I think that it's the Kickstarter letting him through. I think he is. It's very slow, regardless of how you feel about that. And there you go, the Kickstarter does indeed give him the room and puts Bruiser back into what is, oh goodness me, Bruiser with a lot of grass there, and going very wide through the first variante, having to skip the second part of the corner. But then, you know, you're looking at this battle now for first and second, and well, they've tried to get away from, well, check out from Pleasant Stake, but it looks like Pleasant Stake is starting to get himself involved. There'll be 6 laps to go at the line, and the leaders, the top 3, is not going to be separated by much, and now they find a few tenths there through the Parabolica. So there we go, and Energetic takes the lead of the Grand Prix. Another change for the lead with the Racing Bulls. Can Truckster finally make a move on Kovachka? It does, like I said, doesn't matter. Bards has 19 seconds in tow for his post-race shenanigans. So that is 3 track limits penalties and 1 for speeding in the pit lane. He needs a safety car just to try and reduce the damage and serve those 10 seconds in the pits. But I don't see that happening, to be honest with you. As Truckster there gets a good piece of momentum out of the first variante. Can he take that through Curva Grande and then into maybe set up a move into the second chicane, but isn't going to be close enough to do so. Has to fall in line with the Alpine for the time being, who of course has a post-race penalty of his own, so it doesn't really need to make the move, all things considered. But I think he would just like to do it on track as a sign of victory, I suppose, for lack of a better word, although he is not really anywhere near the top. This is where these two come in. Pleasant Stake has now begun to check out from this. 3.5 seconds was the gap going into this lap, but now, well, now has checked out by just a little more. Seemed to have stabilized that in the middle of the 3-second range. So now, let's see what he can, well, let's see if they can do anything, but I don't think it's going to happen with 5 laps to go now. As there we go, another swap for the lead between Energetic and Fellow Sun. Of course, just to give you an idea, Energetic trying to fight for 3rd place. He is 19 points ahead of, well, behind Race Chase going into this Grand Prix. So if he, well, sorry, if he is to get the maximum of 26 points, he will be then with Race Chase finishing, what is it? Well, it might be P4 with the rate we're going at. I think we've had some battling in the background, as well as now finally Truckster has made his way past Kovachka there. So Truckster up into 7th place officially, and now just has Bards down the road to catch. He's got 2 seconds to him. Doesn't really need to make the overtake, but again, just as a sense of completion for the Williams driver, I'm sure he would love to try and get that done. But yeah, no, if Race Chase is to finish in 4th, which is now looking the more likely scenario, because now he's broken that 3-second window he needs to break for Quincy's post-race penalty, that will be 14 points. So that is a 12-point gain on Race Chase. So that will mean that gap goes down to 7 points going into the final round in Zandvoort. So 3rd place, all to play for there in the championship, and Truckster don't think it's going to do quite enough to gain onto the back of this. If Energetic, if things stay as they are, well, let's see. It was a 39-point deficit going into the Grand Prix for Truckster. He is out of that fight, so he will just be looking to confirm 5th place going into next week. And well, no, Sebo hasn't actually scored any points either, but they were separated by 4 points, so it would only be about, let's see, 7th gets you 9 points, so it's only going to be a 13-point gap, and that is doable for Summers. Tabran now takes the fastest lap of the race, so a bit of points for the constructors, which we haven't actually touched upon, believe it or not. We have, so with P4 and P5 for the McLarens, that is a combined total of 26 points. Mercedes have got 3rd place, so that's 17, and then Tabran, all the way down in 12th, only has 4 points to his name, so that would be a 21. So that's a 5-point separation, so 25 points going into the final round for the constructors. But now we need to look at this, because a battle for the lead is shaping up for the final 3 laps. Both RBs have swapped and tried to check out from Pleasant Lake behind, but now the communication comes to an end, because now we have not got many opportunities left. 3 laps to go, 6 DRS zones in total, and Energetic will be the first one to go past. When do they decide to go racing? And it looks like that was pretty tough there from fellow Son. He didn't make that easy, but also Energetic didn't really commit to the brakes enough. And that's now given Pleasant Lake a bit of a window, 2.5 seconds. This battle has been hotting up since lap 1. The RBs checking out from the entire field. They have been in a race of their own. They will confirm 3rd place as soon as the Grand Prix concludes, if it stays like this. But you never know what can happen in SSRL. Drama between teammates has not been unheard of. We saw it last night in Division 1 when the 2 Williams made contact with one another out of the first variante. And of course, that gave a very disappointing result, but they will not be looking to replicate that. DRS open now for fellow Sonny. He's going to try and make a move, maybe into Ascari, but not close enough to do so. Probably was a bit hesitant there, as the track does narrow when you go through the left-hander. There'll be 2 laps to go at the line, 4 DRS zones to go in the entire race, and then 1 lap. And of course, that'll be 3.6 miles of racing on 1 lap. So who is going to check out? Who is going to be victorious? Fellow Son will begin the next lap 6 tenths behind his teammates, but can he get that up into the... Can he catch up using DRS? I don't know, you know, because it looks like Energetic has done a good job of checking out from his teammate. They weren't able to swap positions that lap, and they are, oh well, fellow Son really has the advantage with only 1 lap fresher tyre, but that's not going to make a grand amount of difference considering the type of tyre that it is. Through the second variant here, there we go. We see fellow Son going for a bounce through the first part of the turn. Now, caution in sector 3, I think that's said, but that will be short-lived. Now, no safety car can come out during this period. The game will lock the safety car into the pit lane. It is not allowed to come out, as now DRS for fellow Son again. Energetic under all sorts of pressure going into these final lap, and there is only 5.5 tenths separating the 2 Racing Bulls drivers. Pleasant Lake has not made any sort of dent, but the cornering grip is gone for fellow Son. He is in that dirty air, remember, so he will lose cornering grip, especially through Parabolica, which is where you need the aerodynamics to work. Yellow flag in sector 1, that's not going to bother anybody, but here we go, onto the final lap we go. Energetic and fellow Son have 3.6 miles between them. Fellow Son now is going to try and make a move. DRS is open. Energetic does not fight that very hard. Fellow Sun goes into the lead of the race. And 27 out of 27. We are now seeing a lock-up from Fellow Sun. And Energetic, well, will have the momentum coming out of the Variante now through Curva Grande. 4.5 tenths between them. Energetic needs to be as close as possible to his teammates, or else he will not be close enough to get the move done into Ascari. Small look-up for both RBs there. Bit of a moment for Fellow Sun on the exit of the second Variante. Now we are through the two Lesmos. Lesmo 1, that is very wide from Fellow Sun, but the DRS detection point is just here. The activation zone is after the exit. DRS open for Energetic 6. Here we go. Last opportunity. Who is going to take it? They go side by side into Ascari. Who's going to get it done? Are they going to go side by side? No! Energetic goes to the lead of the race, but there is one last chance if Fellow Sun has the battery. Can he get it done? Yellow flag in Sector 3. That might call off the fight because the Asimon is there. Oh, but it's standing inside for Fellow Sun and Parabolica. Can he get the move done? He couldn't get it under control, though. It is going to be Energetic to the line, who wins by 700ths of a second there. Pleasant Snake has to take third place. Quincy will have to settle for what is fifth place because his teammate will take fourth, and then Bards there will lose out on sixth. Trunkster will take that away from the Ferrari driver, and then it's Kavachka in seventh as well. Rowley takes away both of them, as does Tarkangino, so Kavachka is relegated to 9th place, and then Barts is relegated to 11th after all of that. Tabran takes 10th. Moksha will come home in 12th, 34 seconds behind, and of course, he was absolutely screwed over by contact on lap 1, which forced him into the pits. And now, Moksha coming home, 12th position, but of course, in terms of the championship, well, Quincy will have to wait till next week to be officially confirmed the champion, as both Race Chase and Quincy, both Race Chase and Pleasant State finished ahead of him, but Race Chase is now mathematically out of it. He cannot really do much more, but that is another good result for the American driver. He had 3 podiums in a row coming into this, but now that becomes 5 top 5s in a row for the American driver, and that is not too shabby indeed. That is a good streak of points for the McLaren. And of course, the McLarens, we will need to look at the Constructors' Championship once we get our first chance. Now, we are going to see podium celebrations. Red Bull, Racing Bulls 1 and 2, so they confirmed third in the championship. It is no contest. They cannot catch up to the top 2, though, as it's a maximum of 48 points on show, but I think it was Tabran that took the fastest lap, so that might mean the gap is now at 24 points. So it was, I think, did Tabran lose out on a couple of positions, though? That might really affect things. We'll have a quick look. But okay, driver of the day goes to Kavachka there, but cleanest driver goes to Drugster. So in SSRL rules, Drugster is your driver of the day. Your podium is Energetic 6, Fellow Sun and Pleasant Snake, with Race Chase and Quincy in 4th and 5th. Disappointing night for Quincy, with 6th to 10th being Truckster, Rowley, Tarkangino, Kavachka, and Tabran, with 11th to 15th being Bards, Moksha, Rendog, Skitsolo, and Nosebo, with Eugene, Big Bruiser, and Cerebro, rounding out your 18 drivers for the evening. And that concludes the racing, but we still have podium interviews to come. But I think one thing we will need to take away is that the Racing Bulls there now confirmed third in the Constructors. And we will soon... Well, there we go. Great performance from those two. They will hope to be teammates with one another, but they also gave us an exciting final lap battle, which was just absolutely immense to see. That went down right to the final lap, right to the final corner, but in the end, it was Energetic who won out. But what a race between the Racing Bulls drivers. That was cooking from lap 1, and it certainly did not disappoint at all, and even battles up and down the field as well, giving us some great entertainment overall. What a Grand Prix that was. But look at that, prompt and ready. We have our podium sitters here in the commentary box. Let's go to Energetic. Congratulations on what was a fantastically fought out battle between two teammates. In the end, it was you, but it was oh so close through Parabolica. It looked like Fellowson might have just had the edge, but couldn't quite get the traction. And in the end, you took the win. How was that? That was 27 laps of DRS swapping between you and your teammate.
That was fun, yeah. I think Fellowson did have the same idea to keep Pleasant Snake at bay because he was close, but not closing in that much. And I was like, okay, I know my tires are gonna die if I pit this lap, but I'm sticking to the same strategy I did yesterday. But the tires felt even worse, like 80% at the end. I liked Monza from like 2006 already, and finally it goes great this time around.
And, well, the Racing Bulls now, thanks to your one too. So you score the maximum of 47 points. Well, I say the maximum, but Tabran took fastest lap, so he took the extra point. And that means Racing Bulls have confirmed third in the championship. So that's actually pretty nice for you both, I think. But unless if one of you is reserved, so someone may have to correct me on that. But as far as I know, 47 points for the Racing Bulls confirms third in the Constructors.
Yes, Fellowson is the reserve. Toby is normally my teammate, so he won't score points, I think. Would
No, he
maybe
won't.
be a suggestion for upcoming seasons that
Yeah,
reserves
do score points. They're just they score team points and they do score points. They're just not included in the normal drivers table.
Well, then we concluded P3 at least, because next week I can't be there. So I hope someone else can take my seat next week. I'm having a late shift, so I can't attend.
Well, it would be a shame. It's a shame not to have you in at your home Grand Prix in Division 2 as well. I was just keeping an eye on the battle for yourself in the Drivers' Championship as well. Depending on where Trugster finished, I can't quite remember. I don't think it matters though, because you've at least confirmed P4 for yourself as well in the Drivers' Championship. I don't think Trugster can catch you. So there is that for you as well. So you don't actually have to worry about your Drivers' Championship position either. So that's pretty good. But of course,
Lovely.
talking about, of course, like I said before, 27 laps of DRS swapping with your teammate. Was there any sort of communication at any point when that was going to stop?
Nope, we didn't. I was in a party on my own eventually because my mates went to sleep. So I was like, free me up my cat, because they fight and still driving. That's difficult though. And for sometimes I thought he's mad at me for going deep into turn one, because if you're DRS and slipstream, you're going a little bit faster, and then you have to brake a little bit earlier into turn one, and I totally forgot that sometimes.
Okay. Good to know the little secrets here, but of course you're not with us next week for Division 2, that is. But overall, just to kind of cap out the season for Division 2, what would you take into next season with the lessons from this season?
Next season, I'm gonna focus myself on Division 1. I'm available for Division 2, but I want to get other people also get to the top spots and stuff. And hope we can get the full grid of it.
All right, then. Well, Energetic, it has been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. Well done on P4 in the Drivers' Championships, and congratulations on what is your second win of the season. You took your first win in round 5. So congratulations, 2 wins in the season, 4th place in the championship. Very good season from you, my guy.
Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome. Moving on to a 700th difference between first and second. It is Fellow Son. Congratulations on P2. How are you feeling after doing all that swapping with your teammate?
Yeah, thanks. I just had a lot of fun. I was dreading that one of us would get away and then it would be just a boring race, but yeah, it turned out to be pretty good in the end. I started to think about maybe try to win the race about lap 22, and just like while I was driving, I was trying to calculate who has to be in front at what point to be in the best so I'd be in the best situation. But yeah, in the end, I had a little traction loss coming out of the parabolica, and then I don't think I could have done anything. But also, I am a reserve, so I wasn't gonna fight it too hard. I could have fought it harder, but yeah, I just had a lot of fun tonight, which is quite nice.
And of course, as you say, you're a reserve. So while you do score points, it's scored for kind of like, I think what we believe we call a reserves table. So if you were to become full time next week, then it would be counted as like, you know, going towards the official drivers' championship. But I'm not sure where you quite stand on that. So my question for you then is, what's your focus going into next season? Then are you also focusing on Division 1, or do you feel right at home here in Division 2?
If I'm gonna race, I'll probably be in Division 1 because I feel like if there is too many faster guys in Division 2, it kind of just goes away, like the whole meaning of Division 2. But saying that, the quality today was extremely close. I think it's a very well balanced division, but maybe if I want to practice and actually spend some time on it, I would probably go to Division 1.
Okay then, and of course, I was just kind of just touching upon the fact that you two weren't actually communicating during the race. What was kind of the pit stop strategy? Was it always going to be the one stop, or were you thinking about the two stop at any point?
Well, all the time I was thinking about the two stop, but I decided on the one stop because I kind of heard that was the kind of a strategy to go for from yesterday. So I was going to try to do that, but I was going to pit in the exact same lap when Energetic did, but I couldn't because he pitted in front of me. So on my last lap on the medium, I had, I think, 85% there. So I was just hoping that I don't get a puncture coming after parabolic or anything, because that would have been very sending, I think.
Fair enough. And let's see. I think I had another question for you, but unfortunately I can't remember it. So it mustn't have been that important. So I think I've covered off everything with you there. So, fellow son, all that leaves me to say is congratulations on P2. Although it was unfortunate with the traction loss, but I'm glad you had fun tonight. And I hope to see you next week.
Thanks very much for commentating, and it was nice to speak to you again.
Absolutely.
Catch you
Same
later.
to you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Well, last but most definitely not least, we have third place Pleasant Snake in the commentary box with us. Congratulations on P3. You finish ahead of your championship rival. 15 points separates you from Quincy going into the finale, but I do believe you're not with us. So, for your final race of Division 2, how was that for you?
It was okay. I'm not gonna say it was the best race I had this season. I tried to be a bit aggressive in the start, so I could stay with the front runners. But when I finally did, I had a lockup. They braked a bit earlier than I expected into T1. I had a lockup, and then it was hard from there, kind of. I tried to, like, after the pit stop, I tried to catch them and saw that I was like catching a bit, but then like I did a small mistake or something and then lost time. So yeah, wasn't able to catch them. They were quick.
Yeah, and of course they had that sharing of DRS, so they were always going to benefit from the slipstream and of course the extra speed down the straights that they would have gained from that. My question to you then is, would you have worked with absolutely anybody to try and catch them, or did you try it and it just didn't work out?
Yeah, I tried it and then it just didn't work out because I've been at work the last 6 days, so I haven't really had any practice. Came home like an hour before it started. Only did a bit of quali practice. So it was, yeah, it was hard. I was struggling through the Lesmo 1 and Lesmo 2 because I only really done quali practice. So, I was struggling to get my head around how to attack them correctly. So I was like, yeah, doing small mistakes there all the time.
And then, of course, well, you've denied Quincy the championship for tonight, but of course, you're not with us you're not with us, of course, going into next week. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I think going into next week, it would be Zandvoort. Do you think you could have taken the championship from Quincy in that final round, or would he have just had the edge over you?
With how the points are now, I think it would have been hard. I think both me and Quincy like Sandward, and both are quite quick there. So I think it would have been a good fight, but I think it would have been hard with how the points are now.
All right. Well, look, at the very least, Race Chase could still take second place away from you. Just checking on the standings, which I have been sent. Race Chase does have an 11-point separation. So, of course, we do hope that you can hang on to it. And then maybe Energetic might be there with you as well. But otherwise, at the very least, if Energetic... I think Energetic said he wasn't coming next week. Did I remember that correctly?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in actual
Yeah, he said
fact, you have at the very least confirmed third place.
Yeah. At least that's good.
So get top 3 for you in the Drivers' Championship, and all that leaves you to say is congratulations on that at the very least. Well done.
Thank you.
Very welcome. With that, post-race interviews are wrapped up. So have a very good evening, everybody, and we'll see some of you next week.
Just a quick one, Dave, before you
Yeah.
go. I possibly won't be here next week also. I'm in Wales for the week. I'm going to see how it goes, but more than likely I won't be here next week.
Fair enough. So there we go. So that really means then, let's have a look at the standings with that breaking news. Race Chase can't take the championship. So if neither one of you attend, that means Quincy will be champion going into next week. There we go. All right, but there you go. That officially wraps things up. Have a very good night, guys, and that was a good race. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. Cheers for comms. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye. All right, so guys, as you know, we might have had the championship decided there. So a couple of drivers, of course, Quincy, Energetic, and Pleasant Snake not being able to make it next week. So that really means we have that means we just have, I think it's only Race Chase that's racing in that top 4 next week. But of course, he can take second away and be the runner-up in SSRL for Division 2. So we'll see how next week comes around. But otherwise, it does sound like Quincy is champion of Division 2 for this season. But of course, as we say before, going into next week, we are going to be in Zandvoort. Of course, Division 1 will be the day before, but Division 2 will be the day after. So September the 15th and the 16th, set your calendars, because Division 1 also promises a fierce constructors battle. And then, of course, next week we will have some sort of battling, but we probably won't be much at stake. But otherwise, chat, thank you all so much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure to be your broadcaster. We will see you for the final 2 races in the SSRL's Season 6. And then Season 7 will not be too long after that. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching. And from wherever you may be in the world, from everybody at SSRL, we wish you all the very best. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Stay safe, stay alive. See you next week for Division 1 and Division 2 in Zandvoort.